Welcome to a bonus episode on July 10th, 2021 of Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Dennis, and I'm the same nerd that keeps coming back here and bringing my friends along to just talk nerdy about everything Marvel and sometimes stuff that's not Marvel. I just really wanted to have an opportunity. You know, we held our podcast as usual on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific. And as much as we like talking everything Marvel then, I felt like it wasn't going to be fair considering that Loki also came out this week. The same, it wasn't going to be fair to the audience to expect them to watch Loki and Black Widow and still show up at 8 o'clock and while working a full work day, even though everybody on my panel already did that exact thing.
Yeah. To be fair, I didn't show up at 8 o'clock, so.
No, that's true. You did show up late, and there you go. But so since you can hear, if you're not watching us live right now, I do have a group of people, and I just wanted to let them introduce themselves really quick before we just talk all about this. And please know that the intent of having this bonus episode today, one day after the movie officially released, was we plan to spoil. So I'm getting that out of the way right now. We're going to talk spoilers. If you still haven't watched Black Widow by now, come back, watch it, come back, and you can hear our hot takes and everything fun. But here we go. Let's introduce each other. You want to go first, Ricky?
I mean, if you're listening to this, you should know who I am at this point.
Somebody's got the ego now.
He's too big for this little podcast.
Too big.
That's why I'm on the top of this chain right here. But yes. No, I mean, the MCU's back, baby. Back in theaters, at least. So,
all right, who's next?
Hi, all. I'm Lindsay. Joining today, I'm a artist illustrator and a UX researcher supporting independent creators. I just watched this movie a few hours ago, and I'm already wearing the Florence Pugh hairstyle, and I've got my vest ready to go.
Wait, how many
ready
pockets?
To chat today.
It does not have enough pockets.
It doesn't have enough pockets. I've got some here in the shirt, and I've got a couple on the vest, but not as many as Florence for sure.
And I want to talk so much. Yeah, thank you. I was going to say I want to talk so much more about that, but let's get Frank.
My name is Frank. Yeah,
I think we lost his audio there.
I got nothing. I think it paused. It paused when I was delivering my my soliloquy. Damn it!
You showed off the tattoos though, like the finger tattoos, which not everyone gets to see all the time.
I'm gangster.
You don't see those tattoos.
Does this movie warrant a Black Widow tattoo on Frank?
No, I have wanted one though.
What would you get? What kind of Black Widow tattoo?
I would just get her symbol, probably on my wrist, I think.
The hourglass.
Not on your stomach.
Yeah, the hourglass.
Would you get a
right here,
right below your belly button? Yeah.
Right on the belly button.
You can get a belly button piercing with the gem as the symbol.
Yeah.
Would you get a tracker installed underneath it?
Yeah. Oh, dude, hell yeah, I would. And that way, I could buzz into buildings, like secure buildings and stuff. Be like,
with your stomach.
You have to point your stomach at it.
Do it.
Well, this is, like I said before, this is going to be this is a bonus episode, so it's not the normal thing we do. So we're not going to be talking about news. We're not going to be talking about just random stuff or even Loki today, other than maybe if we do compare it. But if you're there in the comment section and you have questions or you just have hot takes of your own, let us know, and we'll chime in on those as well. But yeah, I just want to know, going around, starting with Lindsay. First off, what were your impressions of this movie? How did it read to you?
Yeah, so this was an interesting experience for me. Like I said, I just watched it a couple hours ago, so I'm still letting everything percolate. But Dennis actually had me watch the opening sequence to the movie yesterday. So I saw that first, and then we stopped it. And then I went and like watched the whole thing. So it was really weird because I had a very different reaction to like that first 15 minutes compared to the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So I reacted unexpectedly emotionally to that first intro sequence. And I think part of it is just like my own personal experience. I'm like an older sister. And so I don't know. I just feel like they really nailed that initial relationship between those two little girls. And I just love the banter between the two women like so much like throughout the movie. Yeah, so that part actually hit me pretty hard. But then when I went back and watched the whole thing, like honestly, my reaction was a little bit like, I don't know, guys. Like there were some cool parts, but some of it was a bit marvelized for me with all the like crazy action and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't like absolutely love it. I think there were some really cool moments and relationships that they explored. And just eager to hear what everyone else thought.
I do have a question before we move on, because you said something that's really important that I know that the four of us love to use as a shorthand. We like to say, and I think Frank coined the term first possibly, but we like to say they marvelize things, right? And I think each of us might have a slightly different interpretation of that. So I'm curious, Lindsay, before we move on to Frank and Ricky, what is your definition when you say that they marvelize something? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think in this context, I'm really thinking more about like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just to get that out of the way. So definitely within Marvel movies, I have noticed like a very clear structure that they have. You know, they like to have a certain amount of crazy action. They love to have like the mini boss and then like the big boss and like going through that whole piece of it. And then they also throw in like humor at various points. But I think for me, what I mean here is they really focus on like the action and like maintaining that structure, maybe above like some of the thematic elements of the story that I thought would be more interesting to explore. So that's what I mean by that. Just like that focus on the action, the structure over the character development.
It's like so funny that you say that, because I had read like a, so just some reviews and thoughts of people online, and someone pointed out that like story beat for beat, it's very similar to Captain Marvel in terms of like, you have a fight, story moment, fight, like to the T. It's on par with Captain Marvel. So like Lindsay was saying, there's just this is 24, the 24th movie. They know what they're doing, but there's a system in place for what they do with these types of movies. You start off with some action, cool off for a little bit, bring in some action, have a character moment here and there. So I don't want to say it's like the most break or they're not breaking ground in terms of storytelling, but I mean, it does make it less entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I want to recognize too that like having a set structure is just like a script writing convention, especially for like big budget movies. You want to make sure that you're entertaining your audience and getting like your money's worth out of it. So I'm not knocking them too much for having that structure. But yeah, I did feel in this case it was a little at expense of some other things.
I want to add one more thing to what you just said about that. We also have to check in with China to make sure that they're okay with what we do, and then all the other things that you said.
I mean, you're not wrong. There were definitely consideration of a Taskmaster, like in just his appearance alone. But
I'm not going to die on that hill, though. I'm fine with the gay Kylo Ren look, or the Skeletor, or what's another thing that we can call him? Her. The thing we can call her. I'm used to calling him a him because he's been a him in so many other projects. Oh wait,
were you guys?
Are we in the spoilers
surprised?
Right
I already said we're in spoilers a while ago. So
I
wanted
to
make you
surprised by the reveal, by the way, or not so much.
Not even close.
Neither was I.
I literally saw the trailer with Lindsay 2 years ago, and I said, "That's a woman." I said that's a woman. I did. Did Lindsay? Did I not? Did I not say that?
I don't remember, but I trust
you son of a.
I trust you. For me, like once they introduced the daughter, I was pretty sure the daughter was going to be the Taskmaster.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I agree. I think just certain like elements of the costume kind of read as female to me. I was telling someone else this, but specifically like around the like wrist of the costume, it just felt really thin, and just kind of the way they were placing Taskmaster. So I wasn't surprised.
Do you think
I
she
wanna
was
see what
actually? Oh, good.
Also the gait of how she walked.
Yeah.
Red woman to me completely.
I mean, but did you think she was actually in the suit doing?
I don't know if that actress was in the suit, but I do believe there was probably a mix
female
of men and women.
Because
it could, yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about like that specific reveal, the one thing that pulled me out of this movie is when she takes off the helmet for the first time, and you see her head on this like obviously buff ass body. And I didn't
read it as obviously buff ass.
I felt like it was disproportionate to her physique. Like,
have you never seen RoboCop, bro? I read it as a partially bionic body. I didn't read it as.
But then why not mention that? Why not say it? Why not mention?
They kind of did.
Because we were sick of the exposition already at that point.
They kind of did. They plug things into her head to show her how to learn.
She was like plugged into the Matrix.
Yeah, but
she was like, bionic.
Tie into like, you don't know if she's bionic.
Yeah, she's literally if she is bionic, if they plug things into her head and upload skills and stuff to her, yes, she is bionic.
Well, given Ricky the benefit of the doubt, they could have uploaded it to her helmet.
Yes.
Yeah. And then maybe
she inserted like a chip, right? So at minimum,
she does have a chip. Yeah, she has a chip in her body.
By definition, that makes her bionic.
Yeah,
there you go.
Sure.
I tried Ricky.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She'll say, but that whole thing just seemed that really looked off to me. That specific reveal.
That's fair.
Women like Katie O'Brien, they kind of have like smaller heads, but like her back is super muscular. Like she's a really muscular woman, and I don't know, it could read as off in that case, but I think she's really muscular and she's a talented actress too. So
yeah, I think it's hard to say considering we didn't get to see anything besides the neck on her, so we don't know how much is armor, we don't know how much is muscle. You know what I mean? Like
robot arm.
Yeah, robot arms, robot legs. We don't know any of that. Like they never cut her. They never shot her. She never took injury other than, like
blunt force.
Blunt force, exactly. Yeah. So you have no way of knowing what's under that suit. But I just read it as it's gonna be a woman. Especially when she did the ScarJo poses. Like I was like, yeah, that's probably a woman. That's probably the twist. I just felt like that was what they were going to surprise people with. 2 years ago, I thought it was probably going to be Yelena, but I didn't want it to be. But over the years, I like when it became apparent that like clearly Yelena is something that they want to move forward with in other other stories. I was like, yeah, it's probably not Yelena. So when I watched the movie, I was like, okay, it's clearly not Yelena. The more and more I watch this movie, especially because there's moments where she's chasing Yelena. I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure it's not Yelena. So, but yeah, I didn't mind. But Frank, you tell us your takes on this movie.
The quick and dirty take I got is that it's just McDonald's. It's just McDonald's all over again.
You order a Black Widow movie, and you got one.
Yeah. You ordered a Black Widow Big Mac and you got a Black Widow Big Mac. One thing that I did feel kind of took away from the movie is the director's Kate Shortland.
Yeah.
So Kate Shortland only has done like 3 other movies,
and they're also low budget, right?
Yeah, indie low budget movies. So like I can't figure out the reasoning for giving her the keys to a $200 million.
Oh, but that's Marvel's MO.
That's been their formula for a while now. Yeah,
like Taika wasn't doing any high budget shit before Thor. Like, but they're just there to get the story beats in.
Well, my point of that is that she didn't seem to have the experience that other directors might have had. Like the Russo brothers might have made a differently crafted movie, and so would anyone else, really. But I liked her. I liked what I thought I was going to get in the first 15 minutes of it, and this is typical Marvel stuff, I think, at this point. And I liked what she would have brought to the table, but I feel like she was starting to do her magic on the movie, on making the movie, and then like Feige came by and he's all like, "Hey, what are you cooking in the kitchen here? Here. No, put this in here. No, put this in here. No, put this in here."
Yeah.
And then I feel like she kind of lost what she was trying to show in the movie, and I feel like that's also because she's still a junior director, and she's not as seasoned as someone else would be. Like the Russo brothers might stand up for themselves a little more.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't love speculating on them just because the almighty dollar has power. But I do totally agree with you. I think where the movie's shown were in those character-driven moments, which I'm assuming is what she was able to bring to the table, is like those connections between the sisters or between like that family unit. And I just got a little bit bored by the action, not because there's anything wrong with the action to me. It's just, I was just more interested in other stories at this point, just because of the history of Marvel and seeing the same structure in so many other movies. And I can't really speculate whether or not she'd be able to like fight for a vision that's outside of that cookie cutter thing, just because they're the ones writing the checks.
Sure. And that's totally expected. But like, if they're going to continue with this MO, they need to, I don't know, maybe hire a couple directors or something like that. I don't know. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting this cookie cutter stuff. And
they do. I mean, that's why Scott Derrickson left the Doctor Strange sequel. Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright,
dipped out on Ant-Man.
Well, Scott Derrickson supposedly left because he was told he would get to direct a movie with horror elements, and then Doctor Strange ended up being zero horror elements through the whole movie, right? Like,
or just like let them do the wacky stuff that they really want to do. I mean, I think we've been seeing this in the shows too, right? Like, just from hearing conversations when y'all are talking about the shows, like I think everyone here really enjoys those kind of non-Marvel moments, or like the themes we think we're gonna get, and then we start getting disappointed when they throw in like the action and the standard structure. So maybe the solution is more just step back and like let it be a Legion, like let it be, you guys have made so much money at this point, maybe it doesn't have to appeal to absolutely everyone.
Take a couple risks. China, who cares? But no, I really think in addition to that, like someone like I brought up the Russo brothers just because they've come back a couple times and done a couple movies. And I think I was touching on this last night that Phase 1 I think was the best Marvel, and I know that's a big hot take because some of the better movies came later, but I think Phase 1, I'd rather watch a creative movie like Thor with its stupid Dutch angles than watch like 10,000 churned out McDonald's Marvel movies.
You bring up a good point there, Frank, because there's not. See, I can touch on this. There's not a known space in the MCU now that doesn't have its own visual language at this point. The MCU space looks a certain way. Asgard is kind of set in stone the way it's designed. You kind of have some play with some of the like interplanetary stuff, but each destination, it has its own visuals set in stone already, so you're not really playing with anything new at this point.
What? Are you saying that as somebody versed in the Marvel universe? Because there's plenty of places that they haven't visited yet.
I'm okay. For the future of the current stories,
Even for Black Widow, though, I felt like they had developed a Black Widow specific like Red Room visual language that we haven't necessarily seen before. Because they did try to bring some of like that Russian element, like the industrial element, and then also once we got to the Red Room, that like, whole techno thing, because obviously they're trying to push back a little bit about against like tech and like tech industry and all that stuff, in addition to everything about like human trafficking and all those other themes that they
and free will and
there.
Stuff.
But I feel like they do establish different visual languages for each of the properties, but I do agree with you, they have something set, like we've talked about Minderding on the show too, and like everything.
Minderding,
Minderding, yes, thank you. I can
Minderding,
But yeah, I mean, I know him and his team do a lot of work in like establishing that look and feel and creating like a style Bible. So I agree with you that they do have that set and they try to bring those elements. But I also feel like, there's so many other places that they can go. And whenever we do see new properties, I do see an establishment of a new visual language.
Yeah. So I think I get what you're trying to say is that there has to be a visual consistency across all of it. But that's just so it can work when we do the big giant Avengers 5s and 6 and 7, so there has to be that. But at the same time, I am really impressed how they keep creating new ones. Like, right, the TVA is its own cool looking thing. I think, like Lindsay was saying, like one of the things we were pointing out when we were watching the movie today is like some of the settings are really cool, and it's not necessarily settings we've seen before in the movie or in the franchise before. But the Red Room specifically, they chose to make it look different than the glimpse that Joss Whedon gave us in Age of Ultron. He gave us old school Red Room, right? And this is the Russian take on S.H.I.E.L.D. version of the Red Room. Like,
they said it moves anyway.
You saw probably the Red Room Natasha was in, right? And then
well, because I think back when she was in it, it was a physical place.
Yeah.
And then she grew up, and at some point they probably turned it into something comparable to a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier.
A government contract, and then
okay. I mean, if you guys are curious, like I really like the movie, but like I definitely set a bar for myself. I don't necessarily call it as cynical as Frank does, like the McDonald's thing. But I do have a very lowered bar nowadays, because for me, I always say the last movie I ever wanted to expect anything from was Infinity War. And ever since that, I've just been along for the ride. I really enjoy what I get because I'm a longtime fan of Marvel Comics. And so I just like seeing how they interpret the things, the places and the people that I grew up reading in comics. I want to see how they translate to the screen. But beyond that, I have very little. I have very little that I hold dear to, like what they can and can't do with those things. So it generally leads to me having a more positive outlook on things. And if when going into this movie, I honestly don't care that much about the Black Widow in general, like in the comics, or in the movies, like what I mean. Like she's fun in the movies. I think Joss made her have a really cool moment in Avengers with Loki, where she just
Feige, if you're listening, we don't all take his side.
That's fine. You don't have to. But like I think she had a cool moment, but it's always kind of awkward when you have to like justify, well, why are Black Widow and Hawkeye there when you got Thor and Hulk and Iron, like it's funny, and I know there are purposes for them, but I wasn't like, oh man, the Black Widow movie was the thing I needed in my life, So when I went to go see this movie, I was like, you know what? I really love Florence Pugh. Like everything I've seen her in has just been awesome. I just want to watch Florence Pugh be awesome. And I wasn't disappointed at all because of that. That was my bar. And so I came out of that movie like, hell yeah, Florence Pugh was awesome. And
I would be curious on the Black Widow movie we didn't get, since this is kind of pigeonholed in this specific time in the MCU, like what if she got a movie earlier?
What do you mean, like a Phase 1 Black Widow movie?
Yeah, Phase 1 or Phase 2.
It would have been incredibly sexist. It would have been super sexist.
Because it was already sexist.
It was.
Whenever she would show up in any scene, like it was always she's a monster for not having a uterus.
Yeah, I'm okay with them.
What was his name? Bruce Banner landing on the boobies.
Yeah.
I mean that's.
Yeah.
It would have been. It would have been gross.
We got Florence, right?
Yeah.
How did everyone feel about her performance and her character?
I love her performance and I love her character. I didn't love her accent. I know everyone's talking about how great her accent was, but now I'm all like, am I wrong about this? And I've been studying Russian accents now.
Give it two movies and it'll go away.
Lindsay has an awesome hot take on the accent that I think you're gonna like, Frank.
Go for it.
Yeah. So my hot take was Okay, someone can correct me in comments or later on if I'm wrong. I do have like a cognitive science background in from school, and my whole thought was, I don't think she should have had one, because a lot of times, like when you're starting to form like that base level language understanding and like what phonemes, like what sounds you're able to produce and hear, that usually happens like in younger ages. And since she was in Ohio, supposedly, I think from 3 years old to 6 years old, that's like prime language learning time. So she should have already picked up those American phonemes. And then when she went back to Russia, she would have mainly been speaking in Russian, I'm assuming. So I don't think that she should really have had an accent. Like, honestly, I think she would have probably spoken with like more of an American accent.
If anything, her Russian would have had an American accent, right?
Yep.
Brains are so plastic at that age. Who knows? I could totally be wrong. If there are any other neurology nerds who
Red Room
let me
mind
know.
control allowed her to speak Russian.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But what?
With the accent, though.
But in all honesty, though, like, what is the tactical benefit of training a super spy to speak with a Russian accent?
Yeah, you'd want them to blend into whatever it was. So either she would speak with like a British accent or like a South African accent, something that's where English is the native language of that region.
In like not Asia, but like kind of Eastern Europe or like Russia and stuff like that. A lot of those people use like English accents.
I think a lot of the times in the comics and stuff, it was kind of a back and forth, right? Like I don't know for me, but I was like, does she speak with a Russian accent or does she speak with an American accent? But then when ScarJo, first showed up in Iron Man 2, for a while I was like, wait, is she putting on a show? Does she actually speak with a Russian accent? But she never did, right? Like and then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? That actually makes more sense to me, because like, if you want to be a really good spy, no accents.
No accent.
Right? Yeah, no accents ever.
Besides that, they're all supposed to be like superhuman. So like I would expect them to know like 7 languages and not have an accent
in any of them.
But they weren't.
I didn't read them. There was that moment too where one of them spoke in Finnish, right? And then Black Widow understood
but they weren't,
immediately.
They weren't spies. Natasha was a spy. Black Widows, they're more assassins.
You're right.
No, but there's literally 50 of them planted all over the world.
Yeah, for assassin work. I never took them as spies.
But they still have to blend in. They
have to blend in. That's the whole point of the Red Room.
I forget his name now.
Dreykov.
Dreykov. So Dreykov, he was saying, or somebody was saying that Florence's character was mainly an assassin.
She was the best child assassin. It was the Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Oh, that's her dad. Alexei was saying that she was the most ruthless child assassin ever.
But I mean, like, accents aside, though, like, what did we think about like her actual performance or the character?
I did
really like her juxtapositioned against Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't learn anything new from Scarlet with her juxtaposition. I feel like she would have been better served, I think, in her own movie without Black Widow. I think, in my opinion. Oh, sorry. Early on, in the beginning, I like that. I like the way that they were bonding as sisters. Later on, I think we didn't need that anymore, because it didn't really inform us too much about Black Widow. It felt kind of jarring, to be honest, because we've never gotten that from Black Widow before. So it just seems like they're just kind of throwing it in there. It felt really ham-fisted the way they put it in there. It wasn't smooth.
I thought the fact that we've never gotten it before was telling about Natasha as a character, right? Is that we've never gotten to experience the full range of her emotion, because she's always guarded. She's always guarded elements of herself. So this was harder for her to hold back, because they were moments from her childhood. And she's never talked about them before. So I didn't find it jarring. I found it cool. I found it cool to see her showing more expression in her face than she has before.
Well, my position would be that it should have been Yelena's movie and not ScarJo's movie, is what I'm saying.
Well, it kind of was. Actually, Feige said that was the intent of this movie, was for it to be both of their movies, because the more and more they saw Florence Pugh's performance, the more they tweaked the movie to be a vehicle for her as well.
Mhm.
And so I kind of felt like that's what it was. Like, so
more tweaks is what I want. Would have wanted from this movie for Florence Pugh.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But check out this alligator.
Oh my
Yeah, I was
God.
trying to figure out if you like brought it
I-
up for a reason earlier.
The Funkos.
Or that was accidental.
I literally I sent
Like
that to
Loki
Ricky
backpack.
yesterday, by the way. But
Oh
I
my
didn't
gosh.
put them on
Ooh,
there.
leggings.
No Funko
I know.
on the show. It's
Nice.
anyways,
Oh,
we got
look at that.
we got
Oh, that pin.
limited time to work with here. Ricky, what was your take on Florence?
I liked her. She was great. I mean, she's a great addition to the ever expanding universe of the MCU. I'm excited to see her come back in Hawkeye, that was already confirmed before this movie.
Is that what you were trying to say last night, Dennis? There was something you were trying to say last night.
Last night,
I assumed it was that.
No, it was about Valentina.
Oh,
Mhm.
It had something to do with Valentina, that they are establishing,
now we know why she's in the Black Widow show, or sorry, in the Hawkeye show.
in the Hawkeye show.
yeah
Hawkeye,
yeah. I don't remember the context specifically, but I was referring to Valentina, and I didn't want to spoil that for Ricky, because he had said he hadn't finished the movie, and I was like, oh,
well,
okay.
I want to bring it back to the Taskmaster stuff. So the reveal happens. Are you happy with that? Do you think we'll get another Taskmaster? Are you happy with the Taskmaster, if Dreykov's daughter is the Taskmaster moving forward with?
Okay, I'll answer first. I want to bring it back to Florence Pugh, because I wasn't done. And Ricky loves doing that. He never lets me talk about the stuff I want to talk about.
You were so polite during the Avengers Campus talk too.
I wasn't I?
Out of everyone, you were the one.
I did that on purpose, so that
got a half hour.
when he did that to me, I could immediately redirect back. I just wanted to make it clear, like, my favorite scene in the entire movie was the scene in the car where she's talking about her jacket. And the reason is because I read all the context of that scene, which was she's a younger sister who's idolized her older sister, and to the point where her older sister became a freaking Avenger, right? And so she's having this moment where she's trying to bond and she's trying to reconnect with somebody who's been gone from her life for so long. And she's like, hey, what do you think of my jacket? Do you like it? And when she finally caves in, because at first she's kind of giving her shit about it, right? Like she's making it feel like, oh, that's a lot of pockets. But then she's like, no, it's a really cool jacket. And she's like, I know, right? It's so cool, And so for me, that sold their relationship for the whole movie. So you're right. I didn't need more moments like that. Like for me, I was just like, I'm on board with this character for the rest of the movie, because she gave me little sister vibes, and like I really appreciated that I fully understood her character at that moment in the movie. With that, I was totally happy with not getting more Taskmaster. I don't need more. I don't care about Taskmaster. I don't know why people do. It's Taskmaster's.
Taskmaster's like Darth Vader from A New Hope. Like he's just a thug. Like
it's a gimmick.
He's not
Taskmaster's
Space
always,
Jesus. He doesn't need to be Space Jesus.
Yeah, Taskmaster's just a gimmick. So like I was fine with, like, I know there's fans out there, that hardcore Taskmaster fans, that are probably really pissed at like hardcore sexist Taskmaster fans that are really pissed that it wasn't a dude.
Really niche group.
Yeah, a very niche group.
They're actually on Twitter, a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. But I
thought that reveal, like, in the context of the story, like, why Taskmaster, like, if Dreykov's super proud of his Superwoman Death Squad, why cover up your daughter, in the super?
Yes, why indeed, Ricky?
Yeah, think about that for a second.
Why would a man steal a bunch of little girls and make them wear incredibly sexy costumes all the time and go off and seduce men? And then when it comes to his daughter, he wants her completely covered up. Why would that happen? What does that say about him psychologically?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It makes no sense.
But putting a chip in her, like, that's okay. Like,
I would
Because
love
he
to
wants
put a
to
chip in my
control
daughter.
her.
Oh my
He wants to
God.
control all the women in his life.
What if
Where was that
Taskmaster
chip?
has to do a sexy mission?
I'm
Where
just gonna.
where was that
Taskmaster's
chip when-
He
not
doesn't want
designed.
his daughter to do
Wait,
that.
hold on a
No,
second.
and he
Hold on a
wants
second.
complete control over her.
5 seconds or 5 minutes ago, you were defending the accent because you said Yelena doesn't have to be a spy; she's just an assassin. And now you're saying, well, what if Taskmaster has to do a sexy mission?
Well,
can't have your cake and eat it too, man.
what I'm
Like,
trying to
you
get
know,
at is, and I don't have
the
the
Skeletor mask?
answer for it.
Like Skeletor mask.
Like
Hey, what's up?
why Taskmaster? Like I want to say I felt like another character could have been slotted in as the
I would-
ruse.
Tell me the
But
character you're thinking.
I
of.
don't know.
I wanna-
I'm
I wanna-
not.
Who would you like?
I don't know. I just Taskmaster doesn't seem like that character to me.
why?
After watching the movie.
That character did exactly what Taskmaster does,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing more or less than what Taskmaster does. Taskmaster is a mimic, and that's the
Yeah,
whole gimmick
That's
of
his,
it.
that's his whole thing.
But so I
I
think
guess Taskmaster could have been like a trainer. I guess. Could
Yeah,
have
still
Pat-
can't.
Well, like,
still
she-
can't.
she
Still
could've-
can't.
too. She was like double controlled as well, right? Because she had the chip, and then
Yeah.
she was also controlled with or triple controlled.
chemical.
So chip, chemicals, and the behavioral control on top of
Mhm.
that. So he was just
Yeah.
really layering it on his daughter. I mean,
Yeah.
I think narratively to me it made sense. With that being said, I don't really have a strong connection to Taskmaster. Like I don't have an emotional connection to the
Mhm.
character. But I felt like it made sense and it was okay for me. I think they were trying to comment on like control of women and technology. And, and I think they fed back to that too at the very end when she was finally freed. And she was like, oh, is he gone? Is he dead? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the only way that she can be free of that is by her father dying. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And then they sent her off to
and-
the Black Widow home for wayward.
Well,
Widow.
she'll continue to wear the costume that her father made
Well,
her
I do
in the
have
next
a
5
conte-
movies.
I do have a contextual like headcanon that I created for why Taskmaster when I was watching the movie, because you see in the beginning of the movie they're watching videotapes of the fights that took place during Civil War. Civil War is kind of like the perfect test bed for a Taskmaster character, right? And so this universe takes place right after Civil War, where I mean you have to assume there are cameras at an airport, right? So if cameras have recorded all of the known superheroes ever, all fighting, then the story after Civil War, like directly after it, that would be really cool if they just took their test robot, their test Taskmaster, and loaded it up with all of that just to see how it goes. So you could,
Ricky didn't want to hear that shit.
yeah, I know. So you could call that a beta test, like for all you know. I think somebody
Ricky's
was
over
coming
it.
in. Yeah.
He's not
So-
happy.
Over it.
So for me, in the context of when it took place in the story, Taskmaster made perfect sense because
Mhm.
that at the time was the peak of all the Marvel superheroes that the world had ever seen. Right?
Wasn't Taskmaster also one of the villains that flipped sides in Civil War?
Well, he's like a mercenary, right?
Yeah, Taskmaster eventually becomes somebody who works for Shield and trains.
He
trains
trained
agents and
John
stuff.
Walker, right?
I don't. John Walker it predates Taskmaster as far as being good. Like Taskmaster was still bad way back in that time. But yeah, I also kind of associate Taskmaster with being one of the middle tier Avengers villains. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Like it's always silly when Taskmaster fights like anybody outside of Captain America or Black Widow.
Yeah. Fight Thor. Pull that bullshit
yeah,
with Thor. See what he
exactly. You're done if you fight any other Avengers. So if he didn't fight Cap, he better fight Black Widow. That's the easy take, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
who didn't speak on Black Widow or Taskmaster yet?
You.
Me? Oh, wait. Did Lindsay speak on Taskmaster?
Yes,
Oh, just about the control.
I did.
Dang, you guys did some good things. I don't really have thoughts on Taskmaster. But
Okay.
I wanted to change the subject, but it sounded like Ricky or you were going to say
no,
something.
go for it.
I was going to ask another one just because I was curious if
Okay,
you guys
subject rank.
if you guys caught any Easter eggs, like if you had Easter eggs that you liked in that movie.
Nothing really stood out Easter egg wise to me.
No.
I'm not Easter egg person.
So you guys,
last
Frank,
night. So.
She's not the Ready Player One nerd.
Frank,
you
didn't catch Ursa Major?
Ursa Major? No, I didn't.
Okay, so the big giant guy that arm wrestles Alexei, and calls him out on his Captain America bullshit.
Yeah.
He calls him. Are you calling me a liar, Ursa? And then when he breaks his arm, he says, "Some big bear." I think that was they were referencing the character Ursa Major. Yeah, who is in the comics, Ursa Major's a mutant that turns into an actual bear. He turns into a bear. So I thought that was a cool nod to the Winter Guard, and then another
Crimson
Winter
Dynamo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another Winter Guard shout out was the Crimson Dynamo. So
I think they really wanted this to be set in the Cold War. I feel like, and like it just didn't line up
right. Like what's the other Black Widow movie?
Should I pull? I wanted to change the subject, but should I bring a positive or a negative? Like, what do we want right now?
What do we want right now? I just want to know anything that you want to share.
Interesting conversational topic.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
You got one?
I want to talk about the characterization of Black Widow through this. I really liked their all through her arc's been like kind of the dubious spy thing, like especially that really shined it in Civil War when it was like, ooh, she's on Team Tony. Oh wait, she's on Team Cap. You know, she has the dubious allegiances and stuff like that, and she always says, "Oh, I'm Russian." But in this one, like she really took it. She became a hero. She like showed really heroic things. Like she didn't shy away from that like she normally does. She'll normally like do something like kind of sketchy in the movies, but this one, like every choice that she had to make, she made the hero choice, like saving Taskmaster and like
even trying to save that widow that tried to stab her.
The widow that tried to stab her, or the pig. Like,
I love that. I love that even though they didn't show her trying to do it, the directing and like everything about the scene made sure to show you that everybody at the prison was damn trying their hardest to get indoors before the avalanche hit. So they wanted to make it clear that they weren't intentionally killing everybody there. She looked actually really annoyed that Yelena blew up the bell tower or the sniper tower and caused an avalanche. But yeah, you are correct. I think she did behave heroically. She was definitely trying not to kill people in this movie, and that was cool.
I always. Okay.
Sorry, I'm choking. Go for it.
It's watching this movie just made it kind of interesting to me. Like, and Captain Marvel has a similar problem where she's wearing the Black Widow suit throughout the MCU, which is obviously something that caused her a lot of trauma. It's like, why still rep the logo? I still rep the gear.
Oh man, to answer that question, Ricky, I'm going to tell you this. So every Pokemon game that I've ever gotten, I've named my main character Sassy. I've always named it Sassy, and Sassy was the name of the dog that destroyed my my Empire Strikes Back DVD. And I've always hated that dog, and I've always hated the fact that I have a box set of Star Wars without Empire Strikes Back in good condition.
It's kind of like why some people get tattoos too, right? Is to learn from something in their life, or to always be reminded of it. You know what I mean? So like, other than that, I would say, she just looks cool. Like she looks cool when she's doing it. Like sometimes you overthink this shit. Man.
That's a fine defense.
I mean, honestly, Ricky, I think the answer is probably when they made the original character, they weren't really thinking through her trauma. That is my response to that.
yeah. I mean, that answer right there.
That's a fine answer.
Yeah. Yelena, look one more time. Where do you guys
love Florence Pugh?
No.
This is show up on the show.
This is not about Florence Pugh specifically, but it's like I'm trying to get us more into the prediction area since we don't have much time left. And it is kind of awkward because the movie ended in such a way that we know the Black Widow's gone, but there was a post-credit scene that did set up something in the contemporary time, right? It's the only part of the movie that takes place in the now. Where do you guys see this going? I mean, you could base that off of what you know is happening in the behind the scenes, or where you'd like to see this. I mean, it doesn't have to be Yelena too. It could. Do you think Red Guardian's going to come back? Do you think Melina's going to come back? Are you guys aware that Melina is also a character named Iron Maiden in Marvel?
Melina, and also a character in Mortal Kombat. So that's a crossover universe.
Well, I meant specifically Melina Vostokov, but yes, you are correct.
I don't know where they come in, where they would slot in what's
they invade Earth.
Announced. I'm not saying I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in any of the upcoming stuff. I am at a loss on what I think they would fit in nicely story wise.
I know what they do. It's they do a heartfelt or attention getting intro. They'd explain the plot, big CG spectacle, and then the end would be shove future projects up your butt. There you go. I predicted the next Marvel movie. I got it. She's gonna be
in the Hawkeye show, right? Like that's the boring.
She is, and
Yelena's in the Hawkeye show. Yeah,
and she's probably gonna be presented as the antagonist at first. But she'll hopefully.
You gotta have Kate Bishop fight somebody.
Well, I mean, like she and Clint both like Clint love the same person.
Don't be sexist,
like,
Ricky.
They both love Nat. So I think they're going to bond over that, which could be interesting and cool. Yeah. I hope they bring Alexei back in some capacity. I really enjoyed that character in general. I don't know. I just thought he was really funny. I liked all the different lines that he delivered and like his overall characterization, like struggling to put on the suit.
Yeah,
the beer belly. Like maybe he's going to be like Peter B. Parker territory, like kind of a funny, older superhero. That would be really rad. I would be down for that.
I like the underlying thing of Alexei, but I really hate the overall thing of just men in general being shat on in this movie. Which, I mean, it's fine and whatever, but like it just felt like all the men in this movie were incompetent or like just funny, and especially like making his body. Like his fat body, like a big joke. That's just like the fat Thor again. It goes back into that kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough on that point.
It's fair.
I'm okay with all the men in the movie being idiots this time, given that all the women are usually sex objects in movies.
Sure. Yeah. But there were sex objects here still. Like there were so many ass shots of Black Widow in this that I thought Zack Snyder was all like, "Hey, let me see that camera real quick. Hey, let me see that camera." Like because like there was just every time I turned around. Or every time, like I'd be like, "Oh man, this movie, I don't know if ass."
I mean,
yeah, they still definitely like characterize Black Widow in that way. I kind of appreciated like Yelena seemed to be a little bit of a counterpoint to that. Like they kept doing that. I've told Dennis this a million times, but I think Black Widow's hair and what they do with her hair throughout the whole universe is hilarious. It's so ridiculous. They're giving her like $400 like balayage treatments on curls. Her hair, like during an apocalypse. And even for this movie, like somehow in between her getting raided at Melina's house and then going to the Red Room, she ended up with like all these super teensy little braids. Like how on earth did that happen? And they do that kind of thing with her like all the time, like just really sexualizing her. Even when she broke her nose, it had to be like a pretty breaking of the nose,
right? Yeah.
But like Yelena, they seem to be trying to counter that a teensy little bit. Like they kept her in the same outfit, they kept her in the vest. She had like maybe 2 or 3 hairstyles through the whole thing, and they were very functional and practical.
She has a bigger body
too. I hope they're signaling a shift in that characterization of their female characters.
I mean, on that note, I was excited. Sounds weird. I liked that when she was fighting like Yelena or Taskmaster, like when they punched Natasha, like she fucking flew across the room.
Dude, that flip on the table where she hits.
It's just like a physics thing. She is a smaller person, so if she takes a hit like that, she's gonna go moving in the other direction. And that's something that they haven't shown in the other movies.
That's
like
incorrect.
No, she hasn't gotten. I don't think she's gotten this beat up before.
Yeah, they've definitely shown her get flying across the room before.
Yeah,
for sure. But it was nice to see it at that scale, right? Because it's like it's a normal human throwing a normal human across the room. That was cool because that like you said, that was physics. They're showing how they were using the momentum and stuff to do these kind of cool moves. Fun fact, by the way, like, because when I was talking to when I saw the movie with my friend earlier today, he was telling me that the story that's in Entertainment Weekly right now is that when they were training together, ScarJo and Florence Pugh to learn, they had to catch her up so that she could fight like a Black Widow, right? Like, and so as she was learning the moves and stuff, and with the stunt coordinators there as well, she was actually commenting on the pose, like, right, like the landing pose, and saying how, like, this doesn't feel natural. Like, is this actually, like, does this work, like, in real life? If you land like this, is this correct? And the stunt coordinator's like, oh God, no, you'd actually probably break your back if you tried to do that like that. And so they started laughing about it, like her and ScarJo, because like they've been making ScarJo do this for like 10 freaking years. And Florence Pugh just shows up and says, like, this is ridiculous. And so the writers were there on set, and that they were so amused by that interaction that's why they incorporated that into the story. And they still tried to find a different visual style for her fighting that was just less over the top, right? It's like it just felt a little bit more grounded, like some of the stuff she did. And I appreciated that she still tried to do the pose just once, just to give it to the fans. And
it was a good joke.
Yeah. Did you feel like the jokes were pretty good in general throughout the movie, or did you also feel like they undercut a lot of
hella undercut?
Yeah.
There was a scene in particular. I have it in my notes, but I can't find it, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it. But there's a nice bonding moment between Melina and Black Widow when they're talking about the pictures and how she wished that they were real toys and that she could open them up just to feel like it was okay. And then immediately we get a PP story from Alexei, and I'm like, great, that's cool. But that's an example. That's an example of it was in a different room. There was a different thing going on, and then they tell a PP joke. Normally, we talk about using humor to diffuse situations.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was needed. I think they should have let that scene breathe a little bit, at least give it a beat or two before immediately diving into PP.
My God, what did you guys think of Rick's character? Her
Rick.
Exactly.
Her dumb sidekick, her dumb man sidekick.
Yes,
he was great and dumb and forgettable.
Oh, was his name Rick?
Yeah, I can't remember his last name, but his name was Rick.
I really liked the character. I didn't catch the name. I must have missed it on the subtitle too. I actually really thought it was so cool and so super spy of her that she just has her own bug out guy ready to go. Like, that's the dream, right? Is that you would attain such a level of status as, like, wanted person or famous or whatever, but you would just keep on retainer somebody that could help you just exit the world and just go and start a brand new life. That was pretty cool to me.
His name's Mason, by the way.
Rick Mason, right?
I don't know, but it just says Mason on IMDb.
Yeah. See, I think that's why you're. Yeah, I don't know where you got Rick from, and that's what was confusing me. I'm like, who's Rick? Who
Rick
are we
Mason,
talking about?
I think
Rick Flag
is the comic book name.
Yeah, he's just Mason in the movie. Okay. But yeah, I appreciated the character because he did have a really good line where he tried to ask her, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's okay." Like, I got friends, and he's like, "Hey, normally people who need me don't have friends." And
yeah, that was a good line.
That was a really good line. So, she tried to make it cold and say, like, "Hey, I don't pay you to worry about me," But, like, by the end of the movie, they had their own little arc where she's like, "No, you are my friend, but that's all you're gonna be." And I was cool with that. I didn't think he was incompetent at all, by the way, in the movie. I thought he was pretty cool.
He was, because they kept totally nagging on him anytime he brought them something. Like, they were just like, "Oh, you're an idiot. You're an idiot guy." Like,
they didn't say he's an idiot. They were teasing him.
I am using hyperbole.
Okay.
So please don't use the letter of my word. But, like, they were ripping on him every chance they got, and they were like, "Finally, you did something good at the end by giving me a sweet jet. Finally, for once in your life, and once in your miserable idiot life, you did something good."
Frank, did this movie hurt you? Did you feel like personally attacked by this movie as a masculine person?
I don't care. No, I don't care either.
Are they child trafficker? Were you upset?
As a child trafficker, now that's where they really put a beam.
Yeah, I didn't love them introducing that theme for the 5 minutes, and then
I wish they would have had the balls.
I didn't love that, but it's all right.
Just
there was that line about like girls being the most abundant untapped resource, right?
Yeah, I always feel a little bit
Dracula though, so like
I always feel a little bit icky about Marvel like using big themes in that way, to be honest, because I don't feel like they do it responsibly. I don't know. I have some tension about that. Like, is it better to just never like mention some of these themes ever, or do we only want to mention them in like a more responsible way that's like not generating billions of dollars? But I mean, they've done it before. They do it with like surveillance. They do it with a number of other things. It's just
gamma radiation.
I mean, a lot of the movies
they dial it to like 7. They never go full 10 in those types of themes. I feel, right?
Yeah, no, but she's right. But to be fair, when because we were talking about the term Marvelize, I actually use Marvelize in that capacity because I think they do that. They do that all the time, and that's like why I showed Lindsay only the first 15 minutes of the movie, because for me the first 15 minutes of the movie had all the potential of a million awesome movies. Right? It really did. It could have gone in any direction. Like, you see this whole crazy thing with the family uprooted and go to Cuba and stuff. And then you get the crazy like music montage of just like horrible things happening to children and Russia training them and assassinations and Bill Clinton and all these things are just crazy. Right? And I'm like, man, this movie could go anywhere. And then when I saw Lindsay's reaction, I was like, I mean, I promise you they Marvelize this movie, like they do. And for me, that's what I mean by it, is like they always love to touch on themes, but they're never willing to go all in on a theme, like a deep theme, So I've just come to accept that. And maybe that's the Big Mac. Maybe that's what we all kind of mean by that, like, or in different ways. But I didn't like, I've just accepted it, but it doesn't change the fact that Lindsay's question is valid, which is
that's a damn good question, actually. Because I bring that up before. Like, is it better to just not do it and then have just a fun Marvel movie, or to touch on the themes?
I get a little concerned with stuff like human trafficking. The way that they bring it up in Black Widow, because there's like really no discussion of like what happens to the widows afterwards. There's no like community care type of discussion going on, or like government support. It's just like, okay, we freed them.
Run, women.
Free.
Yeah. Here's a jet.
And that's.
They started totally home for wayward widows.
And at that point, it just feels like it's almost harmful to characterize the issue in that way, because it's putting the responsibility on these heroes and the individual, as opposed to the community to support this topic. But yeah, it's tough. Is it better to just like never mention anything at all? And like, I don't know.
But see, I think my argument is always that I believe I would rather have them touch on subjects that maybe certain groups of fans are just completely oblivious to, because they just go to the movie for popcorn. And I'd rather, they come home and they're like, what was that about? And then they end up mentioning that with somebody who actually does know about the topic. And then it starts a conversation, I would rather have that than Batman versus Superman, which is never going to talk about anything real in this real world at all, like, or Fast and the Furious, or Harry Potter, or like, I'll give Harry Potter a break.
Those are all themes of family.
Yeah, there's
family. Three movies that were family.
Yeah.
I live my life one quarter mile at a time.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna do that though, I mean, like, I'm trying to, gosh, Dennis, you're gonna remember the name of this movie. Is it 21 Jump Street? I forget, but the one where they had like the, so they kind of were talking about like white collar crime, and then in the end credits they had that sequence like explaining like
the other guys.
The other guys, yes, the other guys. Okay, so they did
That's
something
one of my
kind of
favorite
similar
movies
with White
ever.
Collar Crime, and it was really super duper silly. But then at the end in the credits, they had a ton of like real issues, real history, and then actions that people could take afterwards.
100%.
So if
100%.
Marvel wants to benefit over on some of these issues like human trafficking, like lead it into action in some way.
Like remember like when Black Panther came out and people were like applauding it and shit for the themes that they were doing, and then like someone finally said, "Hey, Marvel, you should like donate some money from this $1 billion movie you're making." And what did they end up doing? Like donating a couple million.
How much did you donate?
None. But I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, profiting off this stuff either.
Okay, they're not putting themselves on a pedestal. We put them on a pedestal. That needs to be.
But they are profiting off of some.
They are absolutely profiting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But back to what Lindsay's saying, I would love to see them get Adam McKay to come in and do a Marvel movie that actually has thought-provoking stuff from beginning to end. I think that's the dream, though, right? Like that's the dream, and that we can only hope that things get that far. But in fairness, you know what I mean? Like if you look at Phase 1, outside of Iron Man, like were a lot of them doing thought-provoking things that really that made you say, hey, what is up with this world? You know what I mean? Like so I applaud them for trying to do more things like they did in Black Panther, or like they're doing in this movie, or I'm trying to think of other movies off the top of my head, but it is in no way the bar that I want them to stay at. I always want them to get better, but I have to at least acknowledge that in the world of mass consumption crap that's out there that you can go and watch for 2 hours of entertainment, I enjoy watching this a little bit more than a lot of those other things, So I guess that's my review of the Black Widow. Like, it's better than a lot of other crap out there for sure.
That is not the greatest review that I've ever heard.
No, but I don't think it's the greatest Marvel movie either. Like, I really don't. I think we haven't even mentioned the fact that like the stakes were kind of silly because we knew where they had to end up at the end of the movie, right?
We didn't know the stakes going into the movie. Like we didn't know why we were fleeing.
But once they were created, we knew that they had to be 100% resolved by the end of the movie. So it's like, okay.
We didn't actually know that. Like the Red Room didn't have to blow up, I guess. Like that could have gone. He could have I don't know.
There's a second Red Room.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Hydra still keeps existing somehow, even after it's been destroyed a million times over. Yeah.
It's in the packet when you join up.
No, it's like, again, this is movie 24. It's fine. It fits in the slot. It goes on the bookshelf next to the other ones. And is it okay that it's not as good as the others? Sure.
Sure.
I'm not gonna this is the worst movie ever, and it's all part of a bigger story, and another episode of that story, it was fine.
It hurt my masculinity.
Where what out of a scale of 1 to 10, where would you guys put it? And then we're gonna sign off here.
6.
Frank?
6.
Lindsay?
Yeah, around 6 or 7. 6-ish. Are we saying why or just rating?
You can say why as well.
Rate with no context, that's fine.
Okay, rate with no context. Let's do it.
You can say why.
The rest of the episode.
6.17.
I mean, we did give a lot of context.
There were moments I liked, things I liked about the character. I'm interested in hearing or seeing more from Yelena, Alexei, if they bring him back. It was a Marvel romp. I didn't dislike it. I also didn't overly think it was.
It's their solo.
It
slots in. It's
like
part of the story.
I appreciate more female-led movies. That's cool.
What do you rate your McNuggets? What do you guys rate your Big Macs and your?
I would rate. I don't eat McDonald's, by the way.
It's always the same.
I gave this movie an 8 because I went for Florence Pugh. And I was thoroughly entertained by Florence Pugh the entire movie. But that was all that I wanted to come see for this movie.
She gets an 8 or a 9 for me. Her specifically.
Yeah. like I didn't care about the other stuff. I didn't care who Taskmaster was. I didn't care about the quest that Natasha was going to go on. And that's me. And like I said, I know I have my own biases. I know I have my own weird expectation that I took to the movie, but it made it really fun for me. And every time I watch it, I'm just watching it for Florence Pugh, and I just freaking love it every time. Just because she entertains the crap out of me. David Harbour, kind of a bonus. He makes me laugh too. So yeah, it's an 8 for me, but I totally understand why you guys would give it a lower score. I think it was better than the bottom half of Marvel movies for sure.
Yeah, 6 is on the top half of 10.
What's everyone's bottom 3 Marvel movies?
The both Thor 1 and 2 are at the bottom for me.
Gross.
Thor 2, Iron Man 3, and
and not counting this, excluding this one too. So
Thor 1.
I would probably say it used to be Captain America, but on the rewatch, I really love that movie a lot more. So I would probably say The Incredible Hulk is probably down there. It's not a great movie. It gets it. The funniest thing about all these, as the further we go, they keep trying to make the older movies matter a little bit more. But that one matters less and less the further we go. It just feels, it just kind of feels like, and that makes sense, right? Because you don't want people to have to go back and watch the one that doesn't have Ruffalo in it. You want to remember just the Ruffalo, and so if they can cherry pick the things from it and put them in better movies later, like have William Hurt and have the Abomination and have all these things, like then we don't need the Hulk as much. And so, yeah,
poor Liv Tyler.
Lindsay, or bottom 3.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to you guys, honestly. Like Thor 2 is probably there. The original Captain America, maybe Iron Man 2. I didn't love that movie either.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But cool. That was an extra added bonus there. But I do know that we got to get going. Sorry, Frank, for keeping you a little over. Thank you for getting together just to talk about this movie. And I do, recommend that everybody who gets a chance to watch it after checking this out, or watches it later and then checks this out, feel free to leave in the comments what you thought about the movie, so we can talk more. And then be sure to tune into us every Friday, for the regular old Mostly Marvel podcast, where we talk about everything going on.
Yeah, tell us how wrong our takes are. Or tell us how right our takes are.
Yeah, tell Frank how wrong his takes are.
Rip into me in the comments section if you have to.
Yeah, it's true.
But make sure to like and subscribe, and tell all your friends to rip into me too in the comments.
Just rip Frank.
Yeah,
there you go.
Destroy me.
Rip Frank. Have a good weekend, and we'll be back for Loki next week.
Bye, See you guys. I didn't have the outro.